Charlie Chopoff was an unidentified serial killer from 1972 to 1974. He killed 5 young black and Puerto Rican kids between the ages of 8 and 10. The series gets a little unsettling, so be warned. So the murders took place in Manhattan, New York. The first victim, Douglas Owens, age 9. He was out on a rainy day doing some errands for his family when he went missing. No one knew what happened. 1972 of March, they did find his body. He was stabbed 38 times, and his private sections were almost cut off, and evidence showed possible signs of sexual assault. He was found only 2 blocks from his home on a rooftop of another apartment building. After this murder took place, a tip was phoned into the cops, saying Erno Soto was the culprit behind this. Cops talked to the guy's family, but they hadn't seen him in months, so the lead went dry. You'll notice a lot of times this killer, his MO, is the mutilation of the genitals. But this is just the first death. It does not stop there. In the next month of April, another boy was found. Now, this is unnamed suspect since the paper did not release his name to the public. He was 10 years old, and he was found left for dead in a hallway apartment building. They found his body stabbed, mutilated, and gutted, and the genitals were removed and taken. They were later discovered in the park where a group of children were playing with them. Ugh. And also signs of sexual assault. Much like Owens, he was also out running errands on a rainy day when he was abducted. Though this unknown victim did survive this ordeal, and when asked what the person looked like, he can only give a vague description of what he looked like, because the trauma that he has faced was so severe. The description was Spanish or Italian, mole on his cheek, neither light or dark-skinned, might have a limp, and called himself Michael. It is now October of 1972, and 9-year-old Wendell Hubbard is playing in a yard right next to where he lives, in East Harlem. His mom yells for him to come in. It's dinner time, waits a little bit, but he does not show up. So she goes out there to look for him, but he was missing. So his mom ran back inside and gave the cops a call, reporting him missing. Though a few hours later, they did find him on the roof of his own apartment building, stabbed 17 times in the chest, neck, and abdomen. Signs of sexual assault were also there again, and the killer removed and kept the genitals. So the murder started to circulate the neighborhood. Charlie Chopoff didn't make his next attack until March of 73. Luis Ortez was 9 years old. He was told to go get milk and bread for the morning when he vanished. This was the first victim that was Puerto Rican. He would be found later in the basement of his own apartment building, stabbed 38 times, abdomen, neck, and chest. And again, signs of sexual assault and genital mutilation. Though this was the one where multiple reports came in of the suspect, 300 tips were called into the police stating that they saw this man abduct the child. It was this that resulted in a decent sketch of the man. This was the murder that sent the neighborhood into a frenzy, into an uproar, because cops weren't doing their due diligence, trying to track down who was killing these kids. They wanted justice, so public meetings were held to try and figure out who was doing it. They put up posters and flyers of the sketch of this person. They made video warnings to show in school for kids to stay away from strangers. And the police interviewed 150 suspects. They even talked to Interpol about a possible international child molester. Charlie Chopoff, though, was not done there. Stephen Cropper, age 8, was discovered on the 6th floor of a house in August of 73. Though this murder was different, he was cut with a razor blade, severing an artery in his arm where he bled to death. No genital mutilation, though he was posed in a sexual suggestive way, and cops suspected there was sexual assault at play. Cops figured it was the same killer. It would be too coincidental for 2 killers with the same MO, the same victim profile, to be killing in the exact same area. So who was the suspect? One suspect, Al Gonzalez. He was arrested because people saw him loitering in the areas where these children were abducted and went missing. He was brought in, but witnesses couldn't identify this man. This was not the guy. So he was free to go. But before he was released, a mob surrounded the police station after they heard that they may have a suspect. They scaled the building, they scaled the cop cars, and they wanted to see and know who this man was. So in order to get this man out of the cop station, they had to dress him up as a cop and sneak him out. Dale Olivia also fit the suspect's profile. He was arrested for molesting a 5-year-old boy, but he was dismissed as a suspect because his movements didn't match up with that of the other killer. May 1974. Erno Soto. You may have remembered that name from the start of this case. He was a patient of the Manhattan State Hospital. He was apprehended during an attempted abduction of a young boy. The young boy escaped and ran away, yelling for help. Neighbors saw this and they attacked the guy and held him down until police showed up. Erno was a frequent flyer of this hospital, this mental institution, and he had a weekend pass. So the police thought they had him. This was the guy. Though he had a long track of mental illness, but he fit the physical description of what the suspect said. And the exit where he comes out of was also near where a lot of the bodies were found and the abductions happened. A witness even said they saw this man with Stephen Cropper. They brought in the unnamed boy, the one that survived, to see if they can identify this man out of a lineup. Though he couldn't, he did say that he kind of looks familiar, but no. Soto did confess to stalking young black children and Puerto Rican boys, and he even admitted to killing Stephen Cropper. And apparently God even told him that he had to make boys into girls. A little creepy. So they were certain this was the guy. When he went to trial, though, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia and was unfit to stand trial. So the case got thrown out. He went to a high security mental institution where he now stays. Though after he was put away, the murders did stop, and no one was found guilty to the Charlie Chop-Off murders. So many questions remain. Can we trust the confession of a mentally ill patient? If Soto wasn't the killer, then who was? What do you all think? Let me know in the comments down below. Share, like, and follow for more spooks.